Hi, everyone. Coach Sullivan here again with MGS Coaching Football. First, if you've subscribed to my channel, I'd like to thank you. And if you haven't, I hope you do soon. I just completed my 38th year coaching football. I was a defensive coordinator, but over the years, I've also been a special teams coordinator, an offensive coordinator. I've been a head coach, all at both the collegiate and high school levels. So today in this presentation, what I want to focus on specifically is our 3-4 base adjustments that we make versus both what we call MAC, right? So wide receiver motion and tight end trade. And the four personnel groups are 10 and 11 and 20 and 21. Okay, so there's some similarity in 10 and 11 up top, 20 and 21 on the bottom. All right, so now when I say 3-4 base, I've got our primary base front illustrated, but everything else that we do within our base package spawns from this front, and all the adjustment rules remain the same. Okay, so the key terms here today in 10 and 11 personnel first, because that's what I'm going to go over. That takes the most in terms of adjustments. What we mean by rabbit, and that equals we got a wide receiver motion, and I'll go through that. MAC, which is motion across. Rope, which is the outside linebackers and the safeties adjusting. Okay, this is again 10 and 11. Trade, which is tight end, T, trade, T, right? Only the tight end trades. And then what we mean by jet, and that's when the outside linebacker is in toward number 3. So that's going to bring in the MAC and the rope together, as you'll see shortly. Okay? So, up top here, and actually in all 4 diagrams, ball's in the middle of the field. And so I'm not getting into the alignment rules. I'm not getting into the run support. I'm only getting into how we adjust to wide receiver motion, okay, and how we adjust the tight end trade. That's all I'm getting into here today, okay? But all I'm going to tell you is the adjustment's the same when ball's on the hash, just the personnel might be tweaked a little bit. So you have to see my other presentations and my base fronts on the whiteboard playlist, which obviously this is a part of as well. Okay? So, up top here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the motion in black and then the defensive adjustment here in red. Okay? First of all, we got to teach your kids who's eligible to motion. It's got to be the guy off the line of scrimmage, okay? So in 10 Detroit, okay, 1 back, no tight ends, 4 wide, okay? The 2 guys who are eligible to motion, receivers, I'm not talking about any running back motion in this presentation today, are the 2 number 2s, okay? So 1 on each side. All right, so you got to teach your kids that. Don't assume anything, please. These are all little details that add up to the big picture. All right, no stone unturned. So the first term, right, rabbit. And before I go any further, it's identical if the other guy does the same thing. So I'm only going to do it in one direction, but it's exactly the same if the other number 2 were to do the same thing. Okay? So the rabbit. As soon as that wide receiver starts, it should be, in this case, the dime, scream, rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. You got to alert everybody. We got a motion. Wide receiver moving. Okay, so you got to alert first. And you can't expect guys over here to know that your number 2 is motioning. So all we just say is rabbit. Every time. Rabbit. Wide receiver motions, rabbit. Okay? So then in this case, what's meant by the MAC? Acronym, motion across, motion across, motion across, which means across the formation. Okay? Everybody got that? Another way to call that is it's the jet motion. Potentially, the quarterback gets the ball right, hands it on the jet sweep. Okay? Hence the jet call. So we're going to get to that in a second. But as soon as the wide receiver moves and we got the rabbit call, we always talk about speed of the motion, right? So in order for him to get over here, he's got to haul butt to get over there. So what happens, he screams, and the free safety can scream it as well, but it should at least be the dime. Rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. He then moves in, and then once he sees he's across, and he's going to do the same, this then kicks in the rope call. Rope, 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 and then it also will kick in the jet, which may or may not be a call, but we'll get to that, okay? So when that happens, he crosses over. In this case, it started off as a Liz. I don't mind telling you this. It's Liz because we go by quarterback arm, middle of the field, Detroit. He's a right-hander, so that's why it's Liz. He crosses on the other side of the quarterback. It's now check, rip, because it's 3 receivers. Okay, check, rip. But as soon as he gets on the other side and we check the rip, now we execute the rope, 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 rope. And here's what happens on the rope. See, part of the rope. And now if you got young players, this is where the jet call comes in. Okay? The whip's going to screw down. And he screws down over number 2. If this guy doesn't move in, the whip screams jet, 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 which tells the outside linebacker in toward number 3. Because this is why that's the rule. This is the way we adjust. If the ball is snapped and he does hand the ball off, your outside linebacker is in the position to make the tackle. Oh. And then you have a safety rotating down on top of it. Oh, so that's always the way we do it. Okay? And then the rope continues with the free safety coming over and the dime rotating back. They replace each other. So then it ends up, that's the dime. That's the free. The whip's over 2. The rover's over 3, whether or not he stops and resets. Okay, he's heading into 3. If he does stop and reset, he must be lightning quick, and the rover gets set up in this case, the outside linebacker. Okay? So that's what the rope is. That's what the jet call is. That is the way we adjust to MAC motion. Wide receiver cross, motion across. Okay? So now, consequently, with 11 personnel, it's going to be the same thing as you're about to see. Okay? Now, again, if he motion, who's eligible to motion? Who's off the ball? In 11 Dallas, again, it's 2 by 2, but number 2 is a tight end here. So it's a pro on one side, twin on the other. 2's detached on one side, he's not on the other. Again, teach your kids who's motion eligible. If this number 2 did the same thing, it would be rope and jet opposite side. Okay, so please remember that's identical. I'm going to motion across here, so it would be the same. Okay, so now here it comes. Rabbit, right? Rabbit. Now the boundary should be making that call right off the bat. Rabbit, 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 rabbit. He's going to continue across. It's already a rip because rip is to the 2 detached, 2 wide receivers in that case. So it stays rip, but nonetheless, when he crosses over, it's rope, 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 and again it kicks in the jet call. Outside linebacker in, safety over 2, rope, rope. Okay, we always say you guys are all tied. There's a rope around your waist that's tied to him and his waist and him and that's what we do. We never run guys all the way across unless we're in a goal line package, which is not the base package. Okay, when we ever do run base on a goal line, which is sometimes, we do the exact same thing. Okay, So this is the singular way that we adjust to MAC motion, which is wide receiver across, motion across. Again, you got to have buzzwords to keep it simple. MAC, motion across. Who does that? Wide receiver. Well, who can do that? The guy off the ball, right? If you're on the line of scrimmage, you can't move, right? Can't be in motion. Man, we got to teach your kids all these details. I've had 22-year-old seniors in college. If you don't make that a point of emphasis, not be able to answer the question. So it's not just younger kids. It could be guys in college as well, okay? So the one back way, 10 and 11 personnel, that's how we handle it, okay? What I'm going to get to next is how do you handle a tight end trade? 10 personnel, you don't have to worry about. 11 personnel, you might. So let me get to that right now, okay? Just take me a second to get this cleaned up. So the tight end trade, as I mentioned earlier, T tight end, T trade. The only guy that trades is the tight end, okay? So what will happen, and you got to pick this up on film study as well. When the tight end, when he comes out, if he puts his hand down right away and then never trades, then teach your kids that. If he comes out when he's going to trade and he puts his forearms on his thighs, that should be saying right, and he should be screaming, trade alert, right? Same thing. Or does he put his forearms on his thighs and then sometimes he puts his hand down, sometimes he trades, right? You got to just teach your kids these things, right? So assuming all of those different scenarios, when the tight end trades, okay, first and foremost, there's going to be a trade call. And the guy who's making the trade call better be the rover, the guy in the tight end. Okay? So trade, he gets up, he races over, and he resets. He doesn't just step off the ball, so now he's in and off, which brings in check stack. See that presentation, same playlist, right? Base fronts on the whiteboard. No, he steps off and turns and starts running across the field because you got to get reset. That's the trade call. So now on the trade call, now he's over here. Okay, I put him in red. I know. I'm sorry. Okay. What happens? Think he's now number 3. Outside linebacker goes in. So now the dime lines up on number 3. We don't run over, remember? One's got to move off the ball. Safety ropes down. He ropes over. It's the same rope call. So trade, rope. Trade, rope. Trade, rope. So your outside linebackers got to get practice playing safety as well when they have to rope back to safety. You don't have to give them a ton of reps, but enough that if you're going to if you're facing a game, if you have a game week where a team trades a tight end a ton, then you got to rep it a ton and give your outside linebackers a ton of reps at safety. Otherwise, you just first and foremost practice in an alignment period this, so they get down the adjustment part, and then a couple of 3 reps every practice doing that at the safety just so it's keeps fresh. So you do it every week, even if you're not necessarily sure if you're going to get tight end trade. Okay, you know you're getting it, you rep the crap out of it. If you don't know, you give it some reps. All right, but that's all you do. It stays consistent. It's like a jet call, except you don't make the jet call, but it's very similar. Outside linebacker comes in on 3. Woo, boom, done. Okay, so that's how we adjust to MAC and tight end trade in 10 and 11 personnel. All right? If you have any questions, reach out to me at CoachMJSullivan@gmail.com, because now we're going to go to 2-back, 20 and 21 personnel. Okay? So the 3 calls, the key terms here are the same, rabbit, MAC, and trade, but you'll see the difference in how we adjust to it. Remember, this is two-back formation. Personnel, and they confirm it with a two backs in the backfield. All right. So here first, again, middle of the field, middle of the field. It's the same adjustment if ball's in the hash. Okay, as I mentioned earlier. So now twin open, right? Two backs, no tight ends, three wide receivers. Who teach your kids who can go in motion? Number two, because he's off the ball. So if a team inverts and number one's off the ball, that's a big thing. Make sure you point it out who's motion eligible now. Well, number one, right? That's a big thing. And a lot of teams do that, and all they do is motion him part of the way, and he ends up getting back into this. He's the new number two. But just to make the point of emphasis, always make sure your kids understand who's motion eligible. Okay? So it starts off the same every time. Rabbit. We got a rabbit on the move. Okay? Turns into motion Mac. Motion across. Rabbit first, Mac second. Okay? Trade, there isn't any like 10, 20, there's no tight end, so that's not a factor. Again, teach your kids what they can eliminate. 10, no trade, right? Eliminate it from the thought process. Info dump, we say. Same thing with 20, no trade, info dump it. Boop, gone. All right? Here's a big difference. In two-back formations, 20 and 21, no rope. No rope, no rope, no rope. Okay? It's not necessary. Two detaches. He's in a ghost. He moves over here. Yes, it goes from Rip to Liz. Now he detaches and he's the ghost. Done. Done. Okay? So in two-back, the Mac motion is handled by the outside linebackers. They do all the adjusting. It's even easier. Okay? You only got one guy who can go in motion. That's why. You only got one. Okay? You only got one. Remember, you got to have 7 guys in a line of scrimmage. So unless it's empty, which we're not talking about, in one back, there are only 2 guys who can go Mac motion. In two back, there's only 1 who can go in Mac motion. That's why. No need for rope. Okay? Huge coaching point. Teach it to your players. 2 guys maximum can go in Mac, 1 guy. Therefore, because 1 guy is eliminated from motion eligibility, outside linebackers adjust. Boop, 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 boop. Done. So over here, again, it's not even a quiz, just guys, who can go in motion? They should say 1 left. I hope, right? Who's off the ball? Starts with Rabbit, Mac, right? Now, there is a trade. So the slight difference, the corner on the side of the tight end, if that's the pro in 21 personnel, then he's got to move because the rover's locked in. So it's not even really an adjustment. He's just you don't stay out there when there's no receiver there. Now the number 1 receiver is the tight end, so you move into the new tight end. And that's it. Boom, done. Okay? So if, before I get to the trade, if they were to start off in I twin, Okay. And again, who's motion eligible? Number 2, coach. Wonderful. Rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. Mac, Mac, Mac. Right? Well, the dime started here, and now he moves back to there, and he widens up because now that's the number 1. Corner goes with 1. And that only comes into play in 21. On the side of the tight end. So you have to teach both corners. If it's the pro, so it's the pass strength, it's the field. If it's the single width tight end, it's the boundary, unless ball's in the hash, but they're not today. It's in the middle of the field. Okay? So I'm going to go back to iPro to show you the tight end trade, because otherwise it would be unbalanced, right? So give me a second here. It won't take long. Okay, so we're going to go back to iPro. And now we're going to work on how we handle tight end trade. Okay, again, it's middle of the field, which is why I keep adjusting our personnel. So, tight end trade, again, all the things I talked about. Does he put his hand down, forearms on the thighs, all that stuff. But the guy who should be making the trade call is that rover. So, all that happens, right, to make sure that everybody's ready, is it goes from Liz to check rip, and that's it. Nobody moves. Tight end trade in 21 personnel, nobody has to move because the tight end comes to the dime who's lined up in the ghost, but now there's a tight end there. He doesn't move because he was where the tight end was. He just left, so that's why we call it ghost tight end position. Tight end trade versus 21 is the easiest adjustment we have because there is no adjustment. Not a person has to move. Run support call, everything stays the same except you check the pass strength. In this case, from Liz to rip. Boom, done. So again, the big coaching points. Teach your guys by the formation, and it's 1 back. Only 2 receivers can go in motion. Make sure you guys can identify right away who they are. Every single time a wide receiver moves, it's the term rabbit we use. It alerts everybody one of the 2 wide receivers is on the move. Okay, the speed of the motion. So when it's going to be Mac, motion across, right? He's going to be hauling butt to get there, which is going to kick in the rope call, the outside linebackers and the safeties. The outside linebacker, the wide receiver is coming to, goes in toward him, right? That's the jet call if you need it, because the safety's screwing down over number 2. Okay? Anytime it's tight end trade, 1 back or 2 back, trade call is made, T trade, T tight end. That's the only time we use that. Okay? In the case of 1 back, it will necessitate a rope call. Okay? And you automatically execute the jet because you get outside linebacker moves in. Okay? Keep everything consistent and simple. If you have scenarios where you do this, unless you get this, then you do this. But if you just layer the different scenarios and how it changes, then kids are going to be wicked confused. To have your kids play fast here so the feet can move fast, you got to come up with a simple, consistent way to adjust that your kids can execute in their sleep. And when it comes to 2 back, okay, whether it's Mac or tight end trade, there is no rope because there's only 1 receiver who can motion. So we do not need everybody roping around because there's only 1. And make sure you teach your kids that, whether they're 22-year-old seniors in college or they're in high school. All right, so as I mentioned at the beginning, thank you for subscribing to those who have. For those who haven't, I hope you do. And for all of you, you have any questions, please reach out to me, Coach MJ Sullivan at gmail.com, because I would love to talk football with you.